Princess Aveline of Zorra, born to the royal family of a distant star system, had been raised for greatness. The Zorran people were known for their towering intellect, advanced technology, and unrivaled ambition to dominate the cosmos. Yet, despite her royal bloodline, Aveline found herself ostracized by her own people. The Zorran people were a proud and fiercely independent species, and their rigid caste system divided their society into two distinct classes: the intellectuals and the warriors. Aveline, with her short stature, delicate features, and unique empathy for others, was viewed as a weakness in the eyes of her fellow citizens. They deemed her unfit for leadership, casting her aside as something too fragile, too emotional for the harsh world they inhabited. Her every attempt to prove herself had been met with scorn and rejection. "Your compassion will be the downfall of this empire," her father, King Saurian, would often say. "You must learn to be ruthless. It is the only way to survive in this galaxy." Aveline's heart broke at the thought of abandoning her empathy for others, but she could not escape the cold reality of her situation. When her father summoned her to his throne room one fateful evening, she knew her fate had been sealed. "Aveline," King Saurian spoke gravely, "I have decided that you are no longer fit to represent Zorra. Your softness makes you a liability. The galaxy demands strength. You will be exiled." Tears welled in Aveline's eyes as she gazed at the father she had always tried so hard to please. But his expression remained unwavering. She had failed. Her departure from Zorra was inevitable. With nothing left for her on her home planet, Aveline turned to the stars. She was cast out into the cosmos, a tiny ship carrying her toward an unknown future. Part 2. The Infinite Universe. Days turned into weeks as Aveline drifted through the void, her ship gliding aimlessly among the stars. Her communication systems were down, and her navigation charts were old and damaged. She was truly alone. The once great Princess of Zorra was now a wandering exile, rejected not only by her people but by the very galaxy she had hoped to conquer. Yet, despite the weight of her rejection, Aveline found solace in the stars themselves. As she gazed through the viewport of her ship, she marveled at the beauty of the galaxies stretching out before her, so vast, so mysterious, and yet so indifferent to her pain. She would never again stand among her people, but perhaps she could find a new purpose in the quiet expanse of space. One day, after weeks of drifting, Aveline's sensors picked up an anomaly, an unknown ship floating silently in the distance. The ship was small, its design unlike any Aveline had ever seen. It didn't match the sleek, military craft of the Zorran Empire or any of the common designs from neighboring systems. It was human. She had heard of humans before, curious creatures who had only recently started to explore the stars. Their technological advancements were primitive compared to Zorra's, but they had something that no other species had: a boundless sense of hope. Aveline decided to make contact. She adjusted her course and sent a message. "Hello," she transmitted. "I am Princess Aveline of Zorra. I request permission to dock and speak with your crew." Part 3. A Human's Eyes. The human ship was called the Hope Seeker, a small vessel with a patchwork exterior that told of years of repairs and struggles. Its crew was small, only 3 members. Among them was a man named Lucas, the captain, who was in his early 30s with a rough beard and a determined look in his eyes. When Aveline boarded the Hope Seeker, she was greeted with wary curiosity. She was an alien, something foreign to them, but there was no immediate hostility. After all, they were explorers, and humanity had yet to face an encounter that would change their way of life as it had with others in the galaxy. Aveline introduced herself as an outcast, but Lucas didn't seem to care about her royal title. His first words to her were simple. "You're a long way from home," he said, his voice soft but strong. "What brings you to these parts of the galaxy?" She hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. But something in Lucas's eyes, a warmth, a kindness, compelled her to open up. She told him of her exile, of her rejection by the Zorran people, and of her abandonment by her own father. She spoke of her search for meaning in the endless expanse of space. Lucas listened intently, never interrupting her. When she finished, he simply nodded. "I can't say I understand what you're going through. But I can tell you this. You're not alone. Not anymore." Aveline was stunned. In all her life, she had never heard anyone speak to her like that, not with such sincerity and genuine compassion. This human, with his imperfect and primitive world, understood her in ways no one from Zorra ever had. Days turned into weeks, and Aveline stayed aboard the Hopeseeker, learning about the human crew. She discovered that Lucas had once been a soldier, now turned captain of a small exploratory crew, seeking out new worlds and new possibilities. His companions, Maya and Raj, were engineers and scientists, constantly tinkering with their ship and dreaming of the future. Despite their humble beginnings, there was a sense of hope that permeated everything they did. Aveline had never seen a people so full of life, so eager to explore, despite their struggles. They didn't have the vast resources of the Zorran Empire, nor the strength to dominate entire star systems, but they had something that Zorans lacked, hope. And slowly, as she spent more time with them, Aveline began to feel something she hadn't felt in years. Acceptance. Part 4. The Heart of the Cosmos. Months passed, and Aveline found herself changing. She no longer saw the universe as a cold, indifferent place, but as a canvas for discovery and connection. She became close to Lucas, and the bond between them deepened into something neither of them had expected. One night, under the stars, as the Hopeseeker floated above a newly discovered planet, Aveline found herself standing next to Lucas on the observation deck. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with the quiet hum of the ship's systems and the distant, ever-present chorus of the cosmos. "Do you ever think about the future?" Lucas asked, his voice low. "Sometimes," Aveline replied. "I used to think it was about power, ruling planets, leading an empire. But now, I think it's about connection, about finding those who understand you, even when the whole galaxy seems to reject you." Lucas looked at her then, his gaze steady and kind. "And do you think you found that?" Aveline met his eyes, feeling a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the artificial heat of the ship. "I think I have," she whispered. With that, Lucas stepped closer, his hand reaching for hers. The gesture was simple, but it carried a weight of understanding. Aveline, who had once been so consumed by the need for approval from her people, now found herself in the embrace of something more powerful than the empire she had been exiled from. Love. Part 5. The beginning of a new journey. As the Hopeseeker continued its journey through the stars, Aveline's role aboard the ship evolved. She was no longer a princess in exile but a valued member of the crew. With Lucas, Maya, and Raj by her side, she found a sense of purpose she had never experienced before.